trying to sense a question on her statement, because I think there's a question there. We're forgetting something. We're forgetting the human factor in all this. We're all humans, and humans are quirky. So all these things that are happening, the reason why we're here in this room today and we feel safe is because of the way the United States is doing things. Agree that there are going to be things that we're not going to agree with, that we're going to feel that we've been targeted. But this got to do with the human factor. We have to move on and continue looking at the positive of all this. We have to move on and continue helping people regardless of whether we think that there's no help. And I think that we can overcome that. But mainly, and Mr. Ortiz hit it right on the nose, if you don't have a voice, you're not heard. And through politics is the only way you're heard in this country. You have to, even though you may not be a legal alien, you may be undocumented, you still have to follow the footsteps of the politicians and support them in any way you can. And I think that way you can be heard. So let's help our people become part of the political machine, if you may want to say that. And help the politicians bring laws into place that will help these people become citizens. And I think we can do it. I think that there's somehow, somewhere, somebody has to realize that they're here to stay, and they're not going anywhere. So somebody has to change the laws around. So let's do that.
Well, you know, that's great, but that's not going to help that gentleman that has the problem now. He needs a lawyer. By the time we change the laws and all that, it'll be too late.
Yes.
Like I kind of say, he needs a lawyer. What I would recommend you do, and what we would recommend to people in Philadelphia is get a group of community leaders and meet with a local representative of PennDOT. And they can come up with a policy. And that's the only thing that's going to work. Yes, voting, yes, registering, it's great. We advocate that. I'm a member of the Delaware Valley Voter Registration and Education Project. We believe in that. But you want some action now. And I believe that the only thing that's going to give the action now is meeting with a person representative, local representative from PennDOT. And let me tell you, they don't like when you bring 5 or 10 people to their office, and especially if you speak a strange language. So you will get results. And the police department for that, but we are told when we meet with the community, especially the captains, you know, we have to resolve all the issues. You know, we have to be ready for whatever happens. And Doris here asked about how can she get the Latino neighbors to work with her. Where when you go to that meeting, make sure she goes with you. That will work. Because then it will show that it's no longer a Mexican issue, it's a community issue.
Yes.
And that will work. And by the way, earlier when I said about Plymouth Rock, I meant the New World. Thank you.
Call the Puerto Rico Legal Defense Fund. Make it public.
Brief political note in support of the comments you made earlier. That's why I said within the next 10 years, Norristown will be a Mexican community, but the councilman will probably not be here for 25 to 35 years, councilman and mayor. And that is, in fact, we'll have to wait for the children that are born here to become the voters, because unless there is a change in that, we're not going to have the political power, but we won't have the citizenship.
Before we lose that subject, I want to say something else on discrimination as well. I don't know what the policy is for transferring an out-of-state license in this state, but I have gone personally with a lot of people to the Department of Motor Vehicles with an out-of-state license. And if they do have a license, I mean, all they want to do is exchange it to a Pennsylvania license. When they get there, same thing. I mean, they ask for a passport, a visa, and all these other documents that, well, you don't worry about how I got this license in another state. I mean, I just want a Pennsylvania license. And they won't give it to them.
Surprised to hear that, because I heard there was a lot of North Carolina licenses coming up here that were being transferred.
It just happened to me this last Saturday. I went with somebody and they did not grant him a Pennsylvania license.
I think they need a visit.
They do. They do.
But you see, that goes back to what I was saying. If you get together, meet with people from PennDOT, these are the issues that have to be brought to the table.
Right.
And get that settled once and for all. In Philadelphia, we don't have those problems. In Philadelphia, what they do is they give a brief test to make sure they understand the Pennsylvania laws, and that's it.
Really?
You got to make these issues public.
Olivia?
Yes,
Councilman Ortiz had mentioned that there's a certain amount of police profiling going on in Philadelphia, and I just had a question for perhaps Obed or anybody else on the panel, if they have realized that the same kind of thing is happening in Norristown.
Well, let me say that in Philadelphia, though, we passed the resolution,
Right.
and the police commissioner gave out an order, right, not to follow those type of activities.
Well, last time last time there was a forum at Eisenhower Middle School, we spoke to the chief, Russell Bunham, and he suggested we wrote a letter or somehow get a meeting with a state representative from our district. And we never followed up on that, but yes, there are a lot of problems. We spoke to him, and he's conscious about them. He's conscious about them. He just stated that that was a state problem, pretty much.
I believe I had read that Russell's indicated that there is no questioning of or requesting of any other type of document other than
Right.
driver's license if they're stopped here in Norristown.
Right, if they stopped in Norristown, what he said, if a police stopped Mexican, they had no right to ask them for a green card or any
Right.
legal documents, just a license to drive. Yeah.
In Philadelphia, it is a policy set by the leadership that they cannot do that. You might have an individual policeman do something, but it's a policy of the department not to do and participate in activities such as that.
Oh, by the way, you need more than just a driver's license. You also have to have proof of insurance.
And registration.
And he has to leave.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, same here, exactly.
Because you know, the people we're talking about don't stay in Norristown. They go out of Norristown, and when you go to Philadelphia, you have registration card, driver's license, and proof of insurance. And if you don't have that, you're going to lose your car. Somebody said earlier that they just pay the ticket, and then in Philadelphia you don't pay the ticket, you're going to lose that car too. So remember that.
Is that for requesting the other documents outside of those for operating the vehicle? Is that made a test case of, or a probable cause or anything yet?
No test case. There will be.
Joe Rodriguez. I'm the Director of Admissions at the Community College here in the county. Mine's more of a comment of things that I've kind of witnessed. I think it bears noting that Norristown as a community has made some efforts here. For example, I know that we're working with the Norristown Police Department, and I hear people keep talking about ESL, English as a second language, but the community is also investing in SSL, Spanish as a second language, and I think that's key. The Norristown Police Department has a course now that they're learning Spanish so they can communicate with the community. And it's not just, it's not just police Spanish talk, it's conversational Spanish. They want to be able to engage in a conversation with a community or resident in Norristown and not just say, stop, freeze. They want to be able to say, how can I help you? What kinds of things should we be talking about? And because of what this forum is, I think we should make sure we note that. That's important, that we talk about what things that are currently happening, what kinds of efforts are being made. So I want to mention that. And then going back to Ms. Espinosa's concern, I can tell you that I had a problem with my driver's license. It was something else that I kind of did. But I inundated them with emails and faxes. Within a day, they FedExed to me my new driver's license because they got tired of hearing from me. So emails, bringing a congregation of folks with you to their offices, it's going to do something pretty quickly. So certainly an email, I sent it to the board of directors of the Department of Transportation. So it got done pretty quickly. So I go offer that to you.
Ricky Wheel. Netta?
One question, one statement, but a couple things in the one question.
I didn't say Doris. I said
One thing, my name is Stephanie, I'm the executive director of the George Washington Carter Community Center, and I'm very active in the community across the board. The one statement I wanted to make, at any time that we could put on an event under one umbrella, which is could be at the Carter Center, that we could have people from the Department of Transportation, someone from healthcare, employers, to do one main event for Hispanics, it could be done at the Carter Center. So that's something that we could work on. But secondly, the questions that I have is, undocumented residents how aggressive are we working on, or is the Hispanic leaders working on getting them documented and into a situation to become citizens, and what's being done with that? How are employers being informed about providing good health care coverage so that individuals can go to the hospitals and receive good health care? And the third question I want to ask is, how open is the Hispanic population being with cultural, wanting to do things culturally that might be tied with other cultures and communities? I know that I am looking for one event to happen, whereas if it's Christmas, Easter, whatever cultural event can happen that can join the Hispanic community with other cultures in Norristown, so that they can see the different cultural ways that things are done differently. So that's a three-part question, but one statement that I would like to see happen at Carver, that we put all these agencies under one roof and get some things done for this community.
I might start calling you Doris or no name. I think we have one directed there for you, at least part of it.
Sure. The answer to your first question, the Mexican government and the government of the United States were negotiating an immigration agreement that will have part of regularizing the undocumented people already in the United States. It also had a program to bring workers from Mexico legally into the United States, and several other issues, security also. However, after what happened September 11 last year, those negotiations were put aside. The President Fox wanted this agreement signed by December last year. Unfortunately, now, as Councilman Ortiz said, the priorities of the government are completely different. And I suppose that these negotiations right now are still being dealt with, but they are focused on the security aspects of immigration. And I think that if in the future President Bush decides to go back to the point where these negotiations were a year ago, this will be probably in 2 or 3 years. So hopefully this will happen sometime.
So just based on the current regulations, how soon can someone become a documented citizen based on current?
It's very difficult,
You can.
and it depends. It's case by case. If you are married with an American citizen, or if you have children, that they must be adult, and it's case by case.
Right, it all depends how skillful you are as well. If you're considered a skillful person for a job that is sponsoring you, and they really need you, the case works faster than as opposed to an unskillful person, then your job can be easily replaced. Right, so it takes time as to how skillful you are.
So if you're a nuclear scientist, you'll probably get to the head of the line. But if you're a factory worker, you're a regular citizen who has very little schooling, which is most of the 13 million people that we have in this country right now. There is very little opportunity, and what the consul just said is very true. And we're not paying attention to it. And that, the people who got elected in this November are not ever going to look at that legislation. Unless we get a new president and new individuals, that legislation is not going to come by and be passed. And we will have an ever-increasing number, because if we have 13 million today, you can rest assured that within 10 years, that 13 million will grow even bigger. because the economic problems of Central America, Nicaragua, Salvador, Guatemala, are not going to end in the foreseeable future. And we will have a constant migration. And I don't care if you put the army on the border, it ain't going to stop it. And unless we deal realistically and we get people elected to deal realistically with this problem, we're just going to continue to have it.
To support that, those comments about the employment aspects of sponsorship, I can tell you firsthand, you don't have to go too much further below nuclear scientists to be able to be disqualified. Because I sponsored a structural engineer from the Philippines, the purpose of employment, and didn't cut it. They had to get married to remain here.
Neda, to answer the other part of your question, if you want to put together some kind of a program to do that, to bring all these things together, let's do it. Let's plan it.
But the health, did anyone talk, say anything about the healthcare? Because that is, I mean, we need everybody to be good healthcare systems, so.
Right, I spoke to Dr. Zharo from Hahnemann University in Philadelphia. They have a program in Philadelphia with the Vietnamese where they come in once a week and set up a clinic and screen people. I talked to Dr. Zharo about coming to Norristown and doing the same thing. He says he needs a place and needs lots of volunteers. So he said, well, let's talk about it and then we can bring it together. So he's going to call me back on that. We're working on all those areas. It's just a very slow process because a lot of people who are working are busy doing other things, so it's really difficult to put it together. But Conexiones is working on all those programs.
We in Atlanta have been working with the local hospital to have access to our people. And I want to tell you that I was talking yesterday with the caseworker that is working with pregnant women. She said for December she has 20 expecting mothers that are going to deliver in December. And we have been working with them and finding help with also with the CHIP program that is for children. We have a local clinic, and the hospital has been collaborating with us in providing health services.
But again, these employers are full.
But remember about medical treatment. Right now in the United States, you have over 44 million American citizens. 44 million American citizens who don't have medical insurance. And we're not dealing with that problem. And in Philadelphia, what we have had is hospitals closing and actually medical services not being available. In Philadelphia right now, in the Latino and African American area, in West Philadelphia and North Philly, we have an infant mortality rate that is equivalent to the infant mortality rate of Guatemala and Nicaragua. And that should not be happening in the fifth largest city in the country. And that should not be happening at all in the richest nation in the universe. So we have 44 million individuals or citizens. So you can imagine where the undocumented worker then comes down into.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robert Brown. I'm an attorney doing immigration work. And I've been listening. I arrived late, but I have many appointments today. I see clients on Saturdays because they work during the week. My relatives are from Argentina, and they emigrated in the 60s. And they did everything to the letter to get here. And so they want to see everyone have the opportunities they had. But they, like a lot of other American citizens, are frustrated at the current situation and why are things going the way they're going. And so they expressed their concerns. I would like to volunteer my services in the future because I think we're missing a large demographic. That's the people that are being educated in high school and in community colleges and universities. A lot of this, although they don't have a vote, can be done with, as you said, emails, letters, petitions. A lot of these students in the schools and the teachers want a program to make their classroom live again, learn about the Constitution, because no one that graduates high school really knows about the Constitution or our judicial system or our legal system or our legislative systems. And I've been working with schools in Chester County. The teachers want to do something where the students write mass petitions. They interview people with problems, like an issues organization that helps get a resolution with PennDOT, gets a resolution with medical care, writes 100,000 letters to a local congressman where they can't vote necessarily, but they can inundate them with the concerns of the community, whereas several adults that have jobs, children, grandchildren, or other things don't have the time to get out into the community. My name is Robert Brown. I work with McMahon & McMahon here in Norristown. I just started. I'm a Chester County public defender. I see a lot of Latino clients because of my Spanish abilities. And I work with an attorney in Westchester who she does all immigration for the last 30 years. And she's from Puerto Rico too, and I think she's in the Puerto Rican group or society that you mentioned earlier. I'm available. I'm going to leave my business card on the front. I'm also working with Maria Espinosa. When she came to our office and talked to me, I found her to be a very stable and competent person in this community to help me achieve some visions I have. And if anyone here would like me to volunteer with their group or would like to volunteer with me in setting up something with multiple school districts and universities and community colleges, it's also a bridge for the young people to learn about our society, to get to college, and if they have to get an A by writing 5 letters throughout the semester, that's 5 more letters we get to write for our congressman to hear what's going on. Thank you very much.
In a way, we can educate the children who are here even though they are not migrants. However, by the time they reach college status, if they are not migrants, they are not entitled to go to college.
I have a very good answer for that. In Utah, there is legislation that's pending to allow all U.S. non-immigrants that graduate high school to get their residency and citizenship. Now, can that happen in Pennsylvania? How many students do we have in the high school level that are depending on a change, or in their 9th grade or their 10th grade that aren't writing English as well as they could, that don't know about our system as well as they should? How many projects can we make all across Chester and Montgomery County and Philadelphia County where they all write letters, they all demand to have the same rights as what might happen in Utah, or it might not happen in Utah? But maybe Pennsylvania residents can help Utahns that are going to vote on this to pass it. It could all be a domino effect. And that's an exact way for them to take a stake in their futures, is to not blow it off and say, well, this country, why should I care? I graduated, it means nothing. Maybe it won't. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Stanley. I'm just a resident of the Norristown area, and it's been very informative to attend today and to learn a lot about some of the bigger picture. This is just a little snapshot, and as neighbors, we're a little bit desperate and we need some advice here. It's a quiet community, but we have one house across the street that is a revolving door of about anywhere from 10 to 12 Mexicans at any given time. At first, it was easy to start to get to know a few of them, speak to them in Spanish with whatever limited English, but also with Spanish. And there was a little problem where they didn't have cars, so their friends would come and pick them up for work early in the morning, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, and instead of getting out and knocking on the door, they'd be beeping the horn. And this started angering the neighbors. And so we tried to talk to them. We tried to explain to them very nicely that this is not what we do. We don't wake people up. Those of us who are not getting up at 5 or 6 in the morning, we go, it would be nicer to knock on the door. We talk to them in Spanish at least 3 times. we try to, well, the ones who don't speak Spanish, convey their emotions very easily in English when they're awakened at that hour in the morning. Maybe we thought we were getting somewhere. These guys had enough money saved up. They bought cars. They moved out. In the middle of the night, the guys moved out their mattresses, and the next group comes in. We don't know any of them, and the whole series starts over again. And
Where do you live?
just,
Where do you live?
Locust Street, just spitting distance from Montgomery Hospital. And we're a little bit desperate, and we just don't know how in the world. We want to live in peace. It's a quiet neighborhood. Well, except when they start their music and then the walls are shaking. We've tried calling the rental agency. We're not getting anywhere. The other neighbor, that it's a half house, so their house is shaking when the music is loud. They've called the police. Nobody's getting anywhere, and we're not able to be really nice neighbors. Any suggestions, please?
First question for you is, what's the address of the house?
Of the house, it's
The problem house.
excuse me?
The problem house?
1216, and it's Charles Bowles Realty.
Okay.
Made a few phone calls and not getting anywhere.
This is called enculturation. And because it's a revolving door, and this is going to happen no matter what. People can be very educated if they stay there. But if people keep coming in, it's difficult. This is something that it is a problem, and it's because it's the way we are. We're, I call it the Caribbean style, where we like people to hear our music, and we like to be noisy. We're rowdy people. It's the nature of the people. They don't think they're bothering anybody, and it's called educating people. And we try to put together a program to enculturate people as far as you have your culture, and people have their culture. You live in a different culture now. It's good that you have your culture, but please keep it to yourself and don't bother the other people. And when you have time to share it, then that's the time to share it. But if people are not living there continuously, it's kind of difficult. You educate some people, but then they leave, and then the new people you have to educate. So it is a continuous education program that you have. I think that it is a problem, and I don't know how to solve it.
I'd like to talk to you after the meeting. Okay. I have some idea and we can address the problem.
Well, can you address that to everybody? I mean, everybody's got this question,
Well, we
so
need to
it'd be nice to have that on the tape for everybody to hear.
Okay, the first thing that we need to do is I volunteer to meet with the people and find out the problem and try to talk to them and explain to them the situation. And because the people move often, we can write a letter that you can have, and the next time a new group comes, you show the letter to them, explaining how you feel.
In places like that, there is usually one person or two that never leaves the house, like who takes tenants in, but there's only usually one person who speaks for everyone. You might want to find out who that is, and then
There was one, there was an older gentleman, he's long gone, I don't know, he must have moved out in the night, he's not there anymore.
Well, that's what as a block captain, that's what I have done.
She's not asking a question, she's making a
I'm
statement.
telling her what I did as a block captain, as what we do as a block captain. Somebody said about an older person or somebody being in the building that would speak for somebody. Well, in my case, that's what it has been. Somebody has spoken for that particular house. And like I said, I have gotten known in the community, and I do follow us. I don't just stop, at one time or just one place one time. I go around the whole neighborhood. So they're starting to get, in touch with my face. I'm starting to get in touch with their faces. So it's working pretty well.
Yes.
In school again, because we have a lot of these parents coming all the time to the school, we are kind of building something called a welcoming center. If anything, situations like this come to your way, you can come to me. It's a Gatwood Business School. And I can mention these situations to the parents when we have the meetings.
Okay, these are all young guys in their 20s.
Well, if they don't have children, I cannot do anything about it. I am just telling you that if they do have children, and sometimes even if they don't have their own children, they are related to somebody who does, like their brothers or whatever of the other people. It's something that if you have any problem with the community, if you bring it to our attention, we have the facility to talk to the parents and the adults about it.
But may I say something here? Talking is not going to resolve the issue. You want to get some sleep, and I don't blame you. I like loud music. I like loud music too. My wife gave me a set of headphones. So I think that's a police problem. Get hold of your police representative in the area and tell him what time it happens, because the same individual that's beeping the horn and waking you up at 5 o'clock in the morning probably does not have a driver's license either. Probably it's coming to you. But you can talk to the people and you can try to explain to them about the different cultures. I understand your culture, I understand all this, and you try to be neighborly, but they have to reciprocate. They have to reciprocate. I believe in that. And if that does not work, then the police has to step in there and tell the police between 5 and 5:30 every morning they're doing this. Let them patrol in that particular area. And I guarantee you, once they get a couple of tickets, they're not going to do that.
And also, I give out the code papers, the code, oh, cowboy! This is, wait a minute, I give out the code papers also in Spanish for noise and all of that, so, sorry.
One quick comment.
It's been as early as 4:30 this past Sunday, 6 a.m. for the first time on a Sunday morning. I thought this is one day we're exempt, not last Sunday, 6 a.m. Sometimes it's 4:30, sometimes it's 5.
By the way, is it the same people doing this?
There's different ones. They all have different bosses, so there's different cars coming. And then they get cars of their own, then they move out and start over again.
I still think it's a police issue. You have to talk to the police official.
One thing I can add is, through the Norristown initiative we've tried to do for the community, is that there seems to be a lack of information passed between the citizens and what the actual laws are that we need to be abiding by. And I know we advocated to the government to get information out. In fact, we've been working with the government, not too successfully in the beginning, but we're still working at it, to get the information of the government laws and the noise ordinances, all those sorts of things, out to the community, both in English and Spanish. Because if they don't know there is a law, they don't know they're breaking it. Now granted, it is a police issue, and if they continue to break it after they are aware that it's a law that has to be abided by, I say shame on them. It's just like anybody else, Spanish, American, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Okay, but then, isn't there also a law that says that so many people who are non-related are not allowed to live in one place?
Yes, there is. And
is that part of because of the transient nature of the people? Is that? So, is that a good law or?
Well, it's a good law, but it's a subject I don't think I should go into.
No, I don't think
It's a sore subject. We'll just say there's two sides to that coin. Yes, I am. I would just say I have had problems in that direction, and I have corrected them when I became aware of the problems. But there is, again, let me just say there's two sides to the coins, and there can be abuses of the system, and you have to be aware that people have rights. And if the rights are violated, what kind of a country are we? What kind of a town are we? So we have to be careful to make sure we preserve everyone's rights at the same time. We get our sleep. I don't blame you.
I just want to say the panel did a great job. Let's invite them.
Thank everyone for coming today, our audience, our panelists. This was absolutely fantastic, and hopefully we'll be able to see this on TV many, many times to come in the future.